I know what this video needs, and I know what you all need. How's about a little disclaimer? As always, please do not target, harass, bully, dox, or attack anyone showcased or referenced in this particular video. This is just my personal commentary on some nonsense that happened on Twitter the other day, and blah, blah, blah. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Japan back in action here to talk about something else today. And by something else, how's about some useless Twitter drama? That's what you want, right? Just a little episodic microcosm in the vast sea of stupidity and nonsense we call Twitter. Nope, still not calling it X. Fuck you, Daddy Elon. So Hirozu 7 is a VR chat avatar maker and content creator. Damn good one, in fact. Much better than me.
I'm Hirozu. You may already know me, but if you don't, I'm what I like to call the all-in-one artist. I do 2D art, 3D models, I have a degree in animation. Ooh, look, a degree. A little bit of voice acting, and of course, content creation.
I mean, just look at the editing and visual appeal in the little skits she records. She makes short little videos that are fairly topical, usually covering something going on in the fandom or VR chat, for better or for worse. Because of the quality and the short length and broad visual appeal, they make their rounds and travel far and wide by the grace of the algorithm. But the other day, one particular video made its rounds for slightly different reasons. Not because it was particularly popular in comparison to her other videos, but please just watch this and tell me what you think.
Phineas, what you doing over there? My steering wheel's a little loose. I think that...
So what did you all think? Some context desperately needed here, right? Now, would you all describe this as rude and uncalled for? An absolutely despicable case of e-bullying. A direct attack on a horse and by extension equines everywhere. Or maybe, just maybe, it was a joke. A fucking joke. Like literally, guy named Fun Train Productions over a year ago added the original Family Guy skit to make it just a little bit more ominous. You can even compare the original right here to the edited version right here and notice the awkward pause paired with the ominous music. Changes the whole context, tone, and mood of the original clip completely. People even got the joke and just kind of like, posted the gif of it. I mean, look, right here, or right fucking here, or they quoted it because they got the joke. In fact, this was initially the most common reaction to this, because that's all it was. A fucking joke. I want to imagine that would become the go-to response when the horse that thought she was being made fun of would actually finally respond. And as it would just so turn out, that person would end up making it all about herself. Helped along by all the people that thought they knew exactly who and what Hirozu was referring to, but still weren't 100% sure, as you'll soon see. But we'll get to that in a minute. I guess it depends on your better sensibilities and better judgment, but I for one took it as a joke. Other people, on the other hand, well, they weren't laughing. And regardless of what horse Hirozu referenced, there was one particular horse out there that people just kind of assumed was the focal point of the skit. Not without reason, but it was the least bit presumptive and hyperbolic. I mean, the hordes had already been summoned, and everybody was simultaneously angry and confused. Well, more angry and just a little bit confused. Even so, the ensuing thread was just kind of fucking hilarious to me. All due respect to Hirozu for having to deal with that shit, and the individual that took it to heart that would quickly become the focus of this exchange. But before we get into that, though, I just want to, cover some of the responses here. What do you mean, that horse? Ooh, that's unsettling. This rude? Or am I just too woke? Oh, jeez, poor man, poor man. Not a man? God damn it, not again. Back off my Fiona! Rah! Whoa, calm down there, Chewbacca. Dude, just delete this post at this point. This is so fucking stupid. Well, you know what, Mixie? I think you're stupid. See, look at this. Not even the people reacting seem to know for sure which horse she's referring to. If you're talking negatively about Fiona, fuck you. Well, that's awfully presumptive of you. Normalize giving context, please, because if we're talking about Fiona, this is really disrespectful. Oh, this is really disrespectful, huh? Is it really, though? I don't find it all that disrespectful. Hell, you don't even seem to know who she's referring to. This could just be a regular tweet saying you don't like Fiona's suit instead of having to make a whole skit about it. So what's funny about this post is that if Hirozu did say anything like that, not that I think she'd hold that opinion, but this very same reaction would have happened regardless. Maybe even worse, regardless of whether there was a video to go along with it or not. Bet you $1 million! And the skit was literally like 6 seconds long, so I don't know what you want from her. Okay, I think we all just need to take a deep breath here, calm down, just relax. Maybe even go touch some grass and drink a cold one. No, Hirozu wasn't bullying anyone, didn't even cite a name or convey anything remotely insulting, unless you consider the ominous music. Horrible, or made calls for people to go after anyone, but the caption referring to that horse clearly evoked the image of one particular horse in people's minds unilaterally by a fair amount of people from the word go. So, what horse were they referring to? I don't know what horse Hirozu had in mind because she never specified, but I can tell you that the horse that the people that thought Hirozu were referring to, they mentioned Fiona by name, but who is Fiona? Now, if you've been on the con scene for all about 5 minutes, then there's one particular horse fursuiter out there that needs absolutely no introduction. You'd immediately know them if you saw them. Probably. Now, what horse fursuit immediately comes to mind when I say that one horse fursuiter? You've got 5 seconds to take a wild fucking guess.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time's up! That's right! Fiona Murray. Not all of you might know her, or know of her, but she's been a fixture here in the fandom since at least a couple of years ago. At least, being as publicly well-known and recognizable as she is today for her look and appearance, which caused a little bit of a shitstorm in the early days. Not like it was her fault necessarily, but she was certainly at the center of it all. While she and certain aspects of her have become quite controversial even to this day, she's more or less become a sort of idol in the fandom, easily recognizable from afar by virtue of the beauty of her fursuit and her sparkling personality. You know what's crazy is that I don't really even have a problem with Fiona's fursuit personally, just being dead-ass honest with y'all. But I totally understand why others do. It's over-sexualized and fetishized with big, bountiful, bodacious, beautiful, luscious breasts and a fat ass to match, with pumped-up licks and an altogether appealing form. And while it's doubtlessly going to turn a few heads, maybe perk a few eyebrows, maybe perk a little more the longer you stare at it, the controversy lies therein and started almost immediately as she stepped onto the scene. What? A big over-sexualized bimbo horse has made the Confor her stomping ground? No, my watch. Time to pearl clutch to the extreme! On Twitter. So not too long ago, while at MFF, I saw the very same sort of thing and even took a picture for you all to take a gander at. You're welcome. So why are these things considered controversial again? Well, consider the idea that Fiona and this fursuiter are sharing in what I and many others strongly believe to be a fetish, with an even wider audience under the veil of, oh, I'm just expressing myself, tee-hee. And you'll quickly see why some people aren't a big fan. Plus, the typical tried and true argument of,
Think about the children!
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
think of the children! And there you go. Because, while they're rare, I have seen kids in attendance at conventions. Something that I have mixed feelings about on its own, but hey, we were all kids once upon a time, right? Unless you just kinda spontaneously congealed in the gutter somewhere, in which case, ew. You should probably get that checked out sometime. Is it inappropriate? Maybe a little. Okay, maybe a lot, depending on the given audience and who's actually present, but where else would you wear something like this? A fancy ballroom? Maybe. Fiona seems just charming enough for that. A furry convention is the perfect environment for something like this. It's honestly the one place I'd expect to see shit like this, honestly. Now, in spite of all that, the suit didn't really bother me a whole lot, if at all, but the surrounding drama kinda did. More so because each proverbial side stuck their heels in the ground and remained firmly entrenched between absolute love and adoration for her, or hateful condemnation for her and everything she stood for. There wasn't a whole lot of middle ground in the discussion here, so how's about hateful adoration or loving condemnation as a little bit of a compromise? Huh? Anybody? Nobody? Aw, come on, you gotta leave your boy Tooch hanging? Now, a lot of that had more or less died down as a sizable denomination of the fandom actually stuck up for her and would reiterate that she had just as much right to be here as the rest of us. Which, to be fair, she does, all while expressing herself any way she saw fit. So the fandom was quick to assert that Fiona walking around in that fursuit of hers was a matter of self-expression, in spite of the accentuated, bountiful assets that were very conspicuously a fundamental part of the fursuit and the broader appeal she had from others. Okay, so we're going to talk about pup hoods, bondage enthusiasts, and others that like wearing very specific articles of clothing, costumes, fursuits, latex, or other paraphernalia in increasingly out-of-place public areas? Just wondering. Because a lot of people will use the argument of self-expression or identity to substantiate why they dress the way they do. So, just saying. Not that it's a one-to-one comparison with the examples I cited. There's obviously different thresholds here. Levels, if you will.
Layers!
But that could be another topic for another video. Now, I ain't gonna knock Fiona's character design or her desire to go cosplay as some big-titted horse girl, but you gotta admit, you mean to tell me this ain't fetishy at all in some way, shape, or form in the least, and is purely in the pursuit of personal fulfillment and being one's persona? Get the fuck out of here. Not that I'm trying to look kink shame or anything like that, but we call that hyper if you're talking kinks. It's where certain parts of your body are excessively big to fulfill some fetishy desire. Usually the adult areas, be it guys or girls, but yeah, you gotta admit, whatever reasoning is given as to the why, you should at least understand where people are coming from when they consider this to be kink shit. Hell, fursuiters in general are considered to be engaging in some kink shit by virtue of just wearing the fursuit. For her to dress like that and walk around is quite a sacrifice in and of itself, though. Just imagine how hot and heavy that would be to wear all day. She does well to cover up, not that the clothes leave a whole lot to the imagination. Hey, less controversial than a bondage-wearing puppet enthusiast. Much easier on the eyes.
She makes me feel uncomfortable because as a woman, I feel objectified.
Yeah, well, you aren't her, number one. Number two, Fiona's a fictional character being portrayed by its wearer. It was designed to be over-sexualized with a very specific visual appeal and style in mind. They aren't real. And as far as I'm concerned, Fiona can make herself look any way she wants. Within reason. No dicks and balls showing. Not that I think she's into that sort of thing, but I digress. No nipples, skin, cleavage, or ass showing either, if you know what I mean. I only say that because I know a few people whose characters are more sexually aligned and have very accentuated, features. Not a topic for this video. And if she genuinely makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to remain in the same space as her. You can leave the room and go somewhere else, if you so wish. Just saying. I guess then it becomes the issue of being haunted by the idea that no matter where in the convention you are, she's somewhere nearby, or far away, but present somewhere in the convention space. Somewhere. Hell, she could even be behind you for all you know, and you wouldn't even know it until you turn around. Okay, prior context out of the way. Remember to reflect upon the ideals. This is all about self-expression, because the last time this was a major discussion, that's what it was all about. And that's the conclusion people had either asserted, arrived to on their own, accepted, or begrudgingly dropped the issue and didn't accept it, but didn't really feel like arguing about it no more. As far as the furry fandom was concerned, Fiona was just expressing herself. That's it. And that's where most of the fandom kind of rested and accepted as the explanation as to why. All about self-expression. That's all it was. Yep. Something that would continue on till today. Now going back to the post, I gave you that background on Fiona Murray because a sizable denomination of people that were either for or against her arrived to the conclusion that Hirozu's video was a joke at Fiona's expense. Now, I honestly think there's enough plausible deniability and ambiguity here that it's not readily obvious, especially given the fact that some of the posters either asked if it was about Fiona or insulted Hirozu, citing, if this is about Fiona, then screw you. Well, enough shit was sowed and dirt flew that the horse herself would quickly take notice. So what did Fiona think about it? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Well, Fiona certainly didn't appreciate being made butt of the joke, which is surprising given the fact that her ass is so fat it could use its own zip code. So she shouldn't even be surprised, honestly. Nah, I kid. Obviously, given the relative reach and the fact that Fiona had up to that point been following Hirozu for her daily dose of VR chat, it was really only a matter of time before she'd take notice. And like I alluded to before, she did take notice. Right here, in fact. Glad I, or whichever my horse sisters or brothers you didn't really specify, could be the butt of your joke. Hope it was worth the unfollow. Wow, what a send-off. But if that's the worst of it, the fact that she goes ahead and makes it all about herself, with a little asterisk at the end, unless you're referring to one of my horse sisters, she doesn't even seem to know what Hirozu's referring to. Then proceeds to unfollow Hirozu over what's essentially a joke? Just like, come on, Fiona. Even if this was about you, can't you take a little joke? I mean, goddamn, girl, you already turned practically every head in the fandom. Not the worst response to something like this, but it does come off as the least bit passive-aggressive and a little bit of an overreaction. It's like one of those women from those old-time movies that are just like, well, I never, before they go ahead and lecture you about why you're a terrible and rude person. I think it's at that point I honestly just thought Fiona took herself way too super serial. So seriously, she can't take a joke? Even if if Fiona was the horse pursuer she had in mind. I don't think Hirozu 7 was being especially mean-spirited or malicious. And you gotta admit, Fiona as a fursuit character is a walking spectacle on her own. Not a bad one in my opinion, but clearly not everyone would agree with me there. She's distracting to say the least. That's part of the joke. Seeing her for the very first time will be distracting and draw your attention away from whatever it was you were doing or who you were talking to in the moment. It was just a joke, bruh. It was just a prank, bruh. Unfortunately, the rest of the fam didn't quite see it that way, because you can't say shit these days without summoning the unwashed hordes of white knights to mob your ass, regardless of what you say. Or didn't say. Nobody can take a joke anymore, and everyone's so far up their own ass, they can't distinguish between someone making a funny and genuine trolling and bullying and the like. Like, no one should be bullied or anything like that, but it happens regardless, whether it's deserved or not, in spite of what the people saying no bullying the bullies are saying. Weren't you all just kind of bullying Hirozu in reaction, trying to say this is unacceptable and that bullying has no place here? So you tried to bully Hirozu, and anyone that thought this was funny? Oh well, it's not like hypocrisy ain't so commonplace in the fandom, so no surprise there. The point is that the way a variety of different furries reacted was kind of unhinged and disproportionate. This was clearly an overreaction by the masses at large, not helped by how their idol, whether real or temporary, Fiona Murray, did nothing to really discourage or move on from the drama as quickly or gracefully as possible, but just kind of fanned the flames and became indignant. That didn't really help anybody feel any better. Though it was pretty funny watching her smack some of the trolls around. Here's my problem. Generally speaking, I like Fiona, and the suit had become something of a meme in the fandom zeitgeist for how accentuated and distinct it looks. But there came a point that Fiona as an individual, especially with this most recent spat, kind of began to repulse me just a little bit. At least with how she behaved online. Mind you, I don't know Fiona personally, we've never spoken, nor met, besides maybe in passing. She seems nice enough, even excusing the whole, pick me, it girl vibe she gives off, but some of her tweets that hit my feed unprompted gave me this weird vibe of smug superiority radiating off of her in relation to whatever she was talking about or referring to in the moment. And it's like, I get it, we all have the right to express our opinion any way we want, it's just a question of how people will respond to it. Twitter's already kind of a dumpster fire and has been for a long damn time now, and text in 180 characters or less makes it hard to parse nuance, tone, or emotion, but still, I kind of just let my feelings rest because maybe I just wasn't reading her right. However, wheeling this back to the more recent events, the fact that Fiona herself was retweeting a variety of things that either agreed with her or defended her good name showed me that she had no problem sort of just fanning the flames of this little drama and spreading it for as far and wide for as many people to see. To all her fans, no less. You already saw how Furry Twitter reacted. Immediate outrage. Hirozu was bitched at and lost some followers as a variety of different people bickered and argued about this, that, and the other. All this conveyed to me is they weren't so much fans at that point, but it was more like an army of simps that showed up on Hirozu's front doorstep to complain. They weren't even 100% sure half the time who Hirozu was even referring to, so an attempt at defense over nothing. Kind of like your immune system overreacting to stuff you're allergic to, like a little pet dander or dandelions and treating it like it's a deadly disease that could kill you at any moment. Now, what's weird is that a lot of people would mention and often reiterate the same messages across a variety of different tweets. That this is all about self-expression, keep furry weird, and that Fiona is a nice, lovely, charming person, and hey, face-to-face, I'm sure she is. But the crazy contrast in that sentiment is how mean and nasty people would be to Hirozu, sometimes in the same breath. Paired with that, Fiona indirectly fanning the flames between retweeting a variety of different tweets that she presumably agreed with, and in some cases directly responding to or quote retweeting people. So nice and charming, right? Not without provocation in these cases, but man did this drag itself out. Maybe face to face because without barriers, layers, between people usually act a little differently from how they do online. So if you have a compelling need to defend Fiona, defend her from these people, not Hirozu. Jesus. Her fans made this out to be about defending Fiona at all costs so she can express herself any way she wants, Hirozu bullying her, and keep furry weird. So a variety of varied but strangely consistent messaging that kind of detracted from the fact that Hirozu wasn't bullying Fiona. Is this a joke made at her expense? I don't think so, but I guess if you want to take it that way, But like I said before, this didn't come off as being particularly malicious or mean-spirited or anything like that. My interpretation is that if Fiona was in fact the horse Hirozu was referring to, that Hirozu seemed to be calling attention to the typical reaction some con attendees or normies have in seeing her for the very first time. That's it. I just like how Hirozu's like, what's a bimbo, when someone asks for a little clarification. So I definitely think she's kind of playing dumb there, but maybe this is all legit a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding or not, the overreaction was certainly disproportionate to what happened. Where's all this outrage when someone gets exposed for being a scammer or a groomer or a pedophile or a zoophile? God damn. Now, I don't know Fiona well enough as an individual on a more personal level to speak with absolution here, but it's not like I really deal with absolutes here anyway, so I'll just say this. So you got all these simps that'll react harshly and negatively with the slightest provocation at anything said, misconstruing something or blowing it way out of proportion. Any legitimate, or at the very least understandable criticisms gets dismissed as, oh, you must just hate women, very callously, even though a few women very openly stated how they felt about it and were just kind of ignored. You'll recall my opinion about it, but I will at least hear someone out and respond in kind regardless of gender or gendered identity. The whole, you go girl response, paired with a series of positive reinforcements and platitudes juxtaposed by the harsh negativity projected outwards? I don't know, feels like it's all just feeding into her ego, and it's kind of shown in the way that she carries herself, right from the horse's mouth. Hooves. Maybe curb your enthusiasm and take a little bite of humble pie every once in a while instead of perpetuating the same bad habits and behaviors that left Twitter with the shitty reputation it's got. And no, this is not a call to cancel Fiona or anything like that. Really, we really need to be moving away from shit like that and discouraging that kind of a mindset. And it's not like I'm expecting her to be some nice fucking church girl or anything like that. Really, nah, just look at her. I mean, really, a horse like that? A nice fucking church girl? Come on. I wonder if I could ask her to dress up like a nun for Halloween. Jokes aside, as for all that, I mean, nobody's perfect, right? And to have that expectation of Fiona in the first place is kind of unfair, so it's not like I'm entirely surprised here, but I am kind of disappointed this is where things went. I guess it's just something to kind of consider. I guess it also comes down to how terminally online you are and how you perceive things. I'd say that Fiona kind of fell into the simp trap. Attract all of this wonderfully positive attention to yourself and all of these wonderful people, and revel in that for as long as the masses look favorably upon you. Now you got near de facto reputational protection. My proof that any of this happened the way it did. The fact that a whole bunch of simps came out of the woodwork to batter up for her, taking a joke way out of proportion, making it something it wasn't, all in order to defend their queen. The fact that everyone reacted the way they did without even being entirely sure what they were even looking at, who this was referencing, and what was even being conveyed, but somehow knowing in their heart of hearts they needed to get pissed, speak up and show the internet that they serious business. It's honestly just kind of laughable. Not like this hasn't happened before, and guess what? I'm not the only one who's noticed. So, people have taken to posting innocuous things like sticks and cross-sections of wilderness for the purposes of satire, baiting people into needless outrage. So, you know, all that does, and has been doing, in my opinion, is feeding into her own ego and serves to make me just a little disappointed that she's acting like a spoiled it girl with the collective affirmation of random strangers online. Same concern I initially had with Blue Wolf, if you remember her, and while it wasn't necessarily the cause of her downfall, it certainly set her up for a major fall if you remember how all that turned out for her. Not comparing one to the other, mind you, the circumstances that led up to all that were very different for both people, but the effect is similar in some ways. Now, like I said before, the suit's whatever for me at this point, and dare I say I actually like it. Fiona herself I always saw as a net positive in the fandom, but her attitude has gotten to be just a little worse for wear from how it was years ago, in my opinion. Maybe it's all this attention she's getting for the suit she wears has finally started going to her head, and she's becoming, or sort of already became, like one of those E-Thots that you see online that just kind of rub you the wrong way. I'm sure some of y'all would like that. You know the kind, always surrounded by simps and reveling in all the attention. Maybe she's still just a little salty about how the fandom initially received her in the very beginning, and by extension, her fanbase is on high alert for anything said about their equine queen, be it good or bad. None of this is new, by the way, because if you'll recall over the years, it's happened with countless poppy furs before, and honestly will probably continue to happen over and over and over and over again. It's just that in this case, I can't help but feel that the fandom inadvertently created a sacred cow. Thou that shalt not be criticized or referenced in anything other than absolutely high and glowing praise, or else. And you'll see some of that in what people posted. That self-expression is her right, her fundamental right, that you can't even question it or say anything about it without being a hater, and that we all just need to shut the fuck up about it. How did this happen? For any of you that might recall, when Fiona first stepped onto the scene, she got a lot of hate for, well, I can't really say no reason, but a disproportionate amount of hate from the get-go for her suit, which I think was largely undeserved. It created an impetus, a need to defend Fiona from these people. So, the people, some of these very same people that stepped up to defend her from all that nasty criticism, but with how the people acted today, I'd say it went way too far. Kind of like overcorrected preemptive action. The provocative nature of her suit, at least after the initial shock and awe and reaction to it had subsided, at the very least created a candid conversation for what we find publicly acceptable in common spaces at furry conventions. A conversation that gets shut down the minute it begins by people like this. Anyway, the tiff was largely one-sided, with Hirozu largely remaining silent about the whole thing. A dignified response, I suppose. And how did Hirozu take all this? Like a boss, because she didn't say shit and kind of just moved on from the whole thing, like a responsible adult would. So dignified, so resolute. But hey, this right here, this whole thing, perfect example as to my answer to you all why there's so much needless drama in the furry fandom. It's because shit like this happens every day, several times in the same day in some cases. You just don't hear about it or know about it because the participants of such dramas are usually small fries and the drama usually doesn't extend beyond a thread or two. Only reason this blew up was because Fiona's a pretty big name and both are fairly visible on social media. As far as I'm concerned, Fiona gets to be idle, remain in the limelight until the people that are big fans of hers tire of her on their own, like every other idol out there, honestly. Fuck it. Be fans with her for as long as she remains favorable to you. It's not like she's guilty of anything truly egregious other than fanning the flames of some drama and getting more directly involved, when she could have just ignored it, walked away. I just think it's funny that she got all butthurt at Hirozu for making it a little funny. I'm not even trying to stigmatize you if you happen to be one of those people that got all protect Fiona at all costs. Just maybe chill the fuck out, don't overreact at the smallest provocation. The sweeping platitudes of this is all about self-expression in the furry fandom don't do a whole lot to dispel the notion that this is some kink fetish shit, nor do Fiona's assurances that she just wants to be herself. It just marks you as a simp to me and the general public. And if you're insulted by that, hey, sorry, not sorry. I'm gonna just call it like I see it. Go ahead, prove me wrong. I'll wait. Okay, waiting over. I'm bored now. Hirozu deserved the benefit of the doubt, and this trend of shoot first, ask questions later is getting kind of tiresome. When I first saw this happen, I didn't take it all that seriously at first, but posts that came out later made me go back and take a closer look, and yeah, what do you know? I didn't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
No, this video isn't about the typical major dramas you're all probably accustomed to. No pedophiles being exposed, no zoophiles being showcased for all to see, no dark, dastardly individuals being dunked on. But it's still worth talking about after bearing witness to all of this in real time, showing a whole bunch of people getting really butthurt over a relative non-issue. Fiona fanning the flames and feeding into her own ego the whole time, retweeting and reposting things to spread this as far and wide as humanly possible so that as many people humanly possible know that Hirozu spoke ill of her. And a stern reminder that she has the right to express herself, and her suit is all about self-expression, not fetishization. I promise you. I assure you. Even though there are signs and hints and pretty blatant shows to the contrary. Not that I hate Fiona or anything, like I said before. I just think that she's kind of fallen into the simp trap, where she's getting all this attention for that suit she wears, and has now, like, access to a whole army of simps, whether she wants them there or not. So what happened after all of that? As the recording of this video, as hard as it might be to believe, I still see echoes of the initial conversation that had started. Mostly Fiona quote retweeting or insulting someone that just insulted her. In all fairness and for transparency's sake, Fiona and her followers were fully justified when a particular denomination of people had decided to show up. Not Hirozu's original intention or fault, mind you, but any chance to take the piss or rag on Fiona is enough of an excuse to attract, well, this garbage. People noticing the commotion stepped up and decided to opportunistically use Hirozu's thread as a battleground and sell up some shit about Fiona that I honestly don't agree with. We called them trolls back in my day. Now there's varying levels here. Some you can't help but just kind of point and laugh at. Others, it's like, whoa man, don't cut yourself on all that edge. Like Masayuna here was kind of funny, being all matter-of-factly saying, it's fucking disgusting, sir. Think of the children, sir. Only to get dunked on by the horse herself. Fursuits getting stolen and set on fire needs to happen more often. Furries will be subverted by right-wing chud furs in the few following years. Wholesome chungus right-wing Christian furs is the first step. Oh boy. Ooh. Wow. Let's fucking hope not, because I can do without those people. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at their name. And I see a tiny little white Russian flag. And, wait. Is that a Greek Orthodox symbol? And, my life as a teenage robot avatar? Yeah, I can't take you seriously, dude. I'm sorry. Now, I just like this excuse. Because fursuit boobs kill my fucking grandma, okay? Therefore, I need to harass Fiona into oblivion for there to be world peace. First off, my absolute sincere apologies and condolences that dear old Mima had to pass from oversized fursuit titties. Second of all, funny meme. Now go to Gulag. LOL, they had me blocked, and then even defending kids seeing fetish content, Fiona's a zoophile as well. They're no defense for fetish content being in public, especially not Fiona's nonsense. Saying it's okay for kids to see literally fetish suits is groomer behavior. And I very conspicuously see a cross and a rainbow. A lot to unpack there. This guy just kind of comes off as incoherent and weird. Wait, Fiona's a zoophile? No, she's not. And Fiona's nonsense? Get the fuck out of here. Wait, ignore the comments? Most normal people feel this way around the horse? I guess Fiona is the horse now? The only horse that matters anyway. What horse are you referring to, sir, madam? See, with some of these people, it's kind of getting hard to determine whether this is all about having those good Christian morals that I keep hearing about. Most people are well beyond the whole inappropriate fetishized iconography that Fiona's suit poses, but you still hear, or more accurately read, some of the same stuff that was said in the very beginning like it was a few years ago, so I don't know. God, it's so ugly. I get furry is about self-expression, but express yourself away from my eyes, please. Wow, you're an asshole. I can't stand them, TBH. Well, I seriously doubt any of us could stand being next to you. You probably smell like a 2-week-old gym bag. Yeah, these people aren't all that special in the grand scheme of the Fiona Murray-related dramas, as they tend to just kind of show up anytime there's any relevant dialogue about her. A lot of their talking points already having been discussed, and most people more or less kind of just shrugging their shoulders and moving on. Though, that guy saying that furries will be subverted by right-wing chud furs was kind of funny, you gotta admit. Now, I guess if you were directly involved somehow, got yourselves worked up, know or knew Fiona, were a big fan of hers, saw this, and decided to throw a rager on her behalf, you probably feel pretty justified right about now, and those that are big fans would feel justified. But if you take a step back, look at the situation the way it is and how it played out, maybe you'll see it from my point of view and accept that all of this was all just kind of unnecessary. Most drama is, by the way, but hey, here we are. Fiona, if you're somehow watching this, you cosplay and are known for being a big-titted horse girl who hangs out at furry conventions and draws a lot of attention to yourself through your fursuit and your antics. Your popularity largely owing to the walking spectacle you bring with you in the beauty of your fursuit. Maybe just take a chill pill and relax. I don't think you're at risk of going anywhere anytime soon. Was what Hirozu posted really all it takes to piss you off? Whew! Where paper-thin egos exist, the furry fandom is a papier-mâché dollhouse. So let's set a match to it. Who's with me? Nah, kid. You know, I had a friend that would always go by the catchphrase, why be a simp when you could be a pimp? Problem with being a pimp is, I'd imagine that women you attract would have to want to be hookers for you to work. And I don't think Fiona's that kind of girl. Sorry to say. She might be a bimbo, but she's a stylishly classy bimbo, and far too highbrow for something like that. When she's not wasting time on weirdos and trolls in her DMs, I'm sure. TLDR. Sudden Simp syndrome provoked a mass number of seemingly random people to misconstrue what was the least offensive piece of media ever, and raged at a content creator. Then some trolls and well-meaning individuals joined in on the discourse, and Horse Girl spent the better part of, I'd say, at least a week proverbially pimp-slapping her way through them with quote retweets and insults. And I just spent the better part of at least 30 minutes plus yakking about it. You are free to disagree with me, and what I've said, by the way. In the year of our Lord and Savior, Sheagoroth, there is absolutely no need for rationality or morality on the internet anymore. Things just kind of happen and people just kind of do whatever at this point. It's not as though I don't have 2+ years worth of drama to look back on, and some other instances of people just kind of acting a fool just because they could. In any case, if you made it this far, then congratulations. Thanks for watching. I have much catching up to do, but figured we just sort of rein in the new year with some ultimately needless but recent furry Twitter drama. Till next time, boys and girls, peace!
Okay. Let's go have some fun.